Hi, I'm Darren, an untrained amateur who's determined to save one of the last of these classic cars. This is Royale, a 45-year-old 2.8 litre Vauxhall Royale coupe. When I owned one 30 years ago, they were rare. Now they're unknown. This is one of the last of its kind, and I'm going to rescue it and relive my youth. Follow the rebuild, watch this legend come back to life. Right, morning everyone. Today's job is to definitively decide, has this head gasket blown? As a recap, to anyone who's come to this new, I've had some indications that there's a problem with cylinder 2. When I did the first set of compression tests on it, I got nice healthy compressions up in the sort of 170, 180 PSI range on 5 of the cylinders, but cylinder number 2 was 20 PSI lower than all of the others. We had initially with the engine problems with a lot of smoke coming out of it, and I couldn't quite decide whether it was black smoke or blue smoke. It certainly wasn't white smoke though, which is normally associated with head gasket failure. And one of the jobs that I did then was to change all of the oil seals, all the valve stem oil seals, and that was a really involved job. If I remember, I'll link a card to that video, because if you've got an Opel cam-in head engine, even a 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder, it makes no difference. Same procedure. You can change the valve stem oil seals, as I proved, without taking the cylinder head off. And the way you do it is by putting an adapter into the spark plug hole and blowing compressed air into the cylinder. And then what that does is that pressurizes the cylinder so it keeps the valves up. So you can compress the valve springs, take the collets off, undo the valve springs, take the seal off, put a new seal on, put the valve springs back, put the collets back on, put it back under spring tension without losing the valve, without the valve dropping in. And it worked. It took all day to do it, but it worked really successfully. However, the day that I did that on cylinder 2, I noticed that it pressurized the cooling system. When I took the compressed air off, I could hear the cooling system bubbling, and the engine was stone cold, so there was no need for it. Since then, I've proactively torqued the cylinder head. So I went and re-torqued all the cylinder head, and there's a couple of bolts here above cylinder 2 that were a bit looser than the others. And I'm wondering whether they've warped the cylinder head. I re-torqued the cylinder head. I did a compression test on it. It made absolutely no difference. So today we're going to definitively decide, is this cylinder head coming off? Because I've got a cylinder head gasket kit coming, but they're rare. So I don't want to use it unless I have to. To that end, there's a few things I can do. I watched some very good YouTube videos on how to diagnose a cylinder head. I mean, the old school method was you would get mayonnaise in your oil or water, so where the oil and water are mixing together. Now, I haven't got that because I think my leak is purely, if there is one, it's purely between combustion and water. It doesn't overheat. But then again, the longest drive we've ever been on has been 4 miles. So has it had a chance? Anyway, there's a few things I can do. I drove it in here last night and it was hot. It had been on that 4-mile drive. So it came in with a pressurized cooling system and it's cooled down overnight. And I haven't started it this morning. It is, so Roy's asleep. It is completely as it was overnight. So the first thing we can do, pull all the spark plugs and let's see what the spark plugs look like, because that can tell us a bit. And then I think we're going to have a look inside the bores, because if there's a water leak into number two will be cleaner than all of the others, and we might be able to see something. So I was online last night. I thought I'd just have a look at the idea of an inspection camera, because I've got an inspection camera for my electrical work, but it's quite big and chunky. It's called a ferret cam. So I thought I'd look for a borescope, you know, the ones with little tiny cameras. And Toolstation were selling that. It's made by Draper, so it's not complete rubbish. It's rechargeable. It's got a screen. And that's the camera. So the camera will easily go down a spark plug hole. I've got a little screen to watch it. And it was 30 quid. £30, £30. Basically, I hit buy it now before Toolstation changed their mind. I can't believe it was 30 quid. If it works half as well as they say it's going to, then it's a very good 30 quid spent, because it will let us look inside the bores and we can see what's going on. If it's charged, it's even got a charge in it. Look at that. It doesn't look like a bad little picture, that. Look, that's you. You know, it's full colour. We should be able to see what's going on. So we'll give that a go, first of all. We've got a compression tester, so we can do a compression test as well and see if anything has changed. And then the other idea that I've had is that we could, I've seen other people do it. There's, you put a glove over the radiator cap. Now there is this overflow on there, so we'd have to block that so that we don't get a false reading, but that's as simple as just putting a clamp on that pipe there. And then if there's any combustion gas going into the cooling system, it'll blow the glove up. Because when we first start the car, there won't be any heat to cause the water to expand. So we'll see if that happens as well. But yeah, let's have a look. The one thing I don't think I can get out of this is a video feed, which is a shame, because it would have been nice for you to be able to see a video feed of it, but you'll just have to look at the screen like I do. But first of all, yeah, let's pull the spark plugs and see if they tell us anything, because that will be a useful thing to look at. It's plug number one. Let's make sure you can see that. All right. Get some light on that. So, is that in focus? Doesn't look too bad. If anything, looks a bit lean, looks a bit white, but nothing like the choked with blackness we were getting from the plugs under that Weber carburettor that was on it originally. These have been running now for a while on the correct carburettor for the car, so looks better. Now this is number two, and number two is the suspect. And it doesn't look any different at all. If anything, nice brown colour. It's kind of funny. I'm kind of hoping I find something. I know it sounds really silly because I don't want to have to do a cylinder head gasket. But if all I find is inconclusive, then all I found is stuff that's inconclusive. I haven't found anything definitive, and I kind of know that the only way I'm going to get anything definitive is going to be because it's definitively bad. I'm not going to. There's no sort of definitive good sign I'm going to find. Cylinder 2. Let's see what we got. Okay, so that's showing us the valves, and let's turn it up the right way around. I'm afraid I might have just found my definitive thing. Oh, this might be the shortest video ever. Don't know how well you're going to see this. I can see it there on your camera. Right there. There's a crack in the cylinder head. So, yeah. Derek at GM6 has got a group meeting tonight for owners and enthusiasts, which is handy because I think I'm going to be asking him if he's got a cylinder head, because that looked to me like that head was cracked. It really does look like it's cracked. Let's look at number 1. Yeah, number 1 looks significantly different. The piston is right at the top of number 2. We'll turn number 2 round in a sec, and yeah, you can really see that crack there now. Those valves don't look too great either. Let's give it half a turn and see if we can see anything else. But that's not great. Yeah, number 2's in a terrible state. That's the cylinder walls of number 2. That does not look good. Really see that crack now. Yeah, look at that rust pitting. That's the cylinder wall of number 2. Roy, I think your engine's knackered, mate. I'm mentally tossing up in my head how much that engine refurb will cost. And it's in the thousands. Okay. I think what we'll do, we'll put some pressure in the cooling system and use that, and then we'll see if we can see any water coming into that, into number 2. Because if we can see water coming through that crack, job done, game over, cylinder head bust. Finito, end. Yeah, need to go and have a think for a bit. Okay, what I've done, pressure caps on cars like this, they go to about sort of 12 to 14 psi, and they have a one-way valve in them, so that if the system goes under vacuum, it can suck out of the header tank. So what I've done, I've just put this little tyre inflator. I haven't got my main compressor here at the moment. I've put this little tyre inflator on the overflow and just blown it up until the cap gives way, and that has pressurized the whole system. So the cap is sealing at the moment. It let the excess pressure go and the cap's sealing. So there's about 12 psi of pressure in there. Looking at where the crack is, I can actually see the water. It's wet all around there now. It wasn't. It was dry before, and you could see the crack. Now you can't see the crack, and it's just moist. And I'm thinking we'll just leave it on there for a little bit and see if we see a drip or anything like that. Just not going to be able to tell how bad those bores are without pulling the head. I mean, they look terrible. But then again, they pressure test fine. You know, they compress to 170 psi. I could kind of accept a new head. Because I know I could get one probably for, you know, anything between 250 and 500 quid. But if the bores are gone, it's then a calculation of go with that engine and rebuild it, or go with a second hand that might be an unknown quantity. I really don't know. You know, right at the start of this video, I said I hoped I saw something, and I hoped it was definitive. Yeah, I was hoping for something a bit less definitive than this. If it were a Ford Cortina back in the day, I'd have just slapped a new head on it, honed the bores, put a new set of rings in it and hope for the best. But of course, you know, we're throwing 12 psi at it. We know this cylinder easily pushes 150 psi. Even if you just compare the level of carbon in the others. The other pistons are absolutely black with it, whereas that one is a lot cleaner. It's definitely a cracked head. Okay, so I've just done a set of compression tests on it. Just dry. Cylinder 1 was at 180. 2 was at 155. 3 was at 190. 4 was at 180. 5 was at 180. 6 was at 190. So they're all hovering around 180, 190 psi, apart from 2, which is down to 155. When I did them wet, I put a good glug of automatic transmission fluid down each one. So probably a good couple of teaspoons down each one. That rose the wet readings on 1 to 210. So it put 30 psi on it. Number 3 went up to 210, so that put 20 psi on it. 4 went up by 20 psi to 200. 5 went up by 30 psi to 210, and 6 went up by 20 psi to 210. Number 2 went up by 10 psi to 165. So we've got about sort of 20 psi, 20 to 30 psi leaking through the rings everywhere. And number 2, I think that crack is absolutely confirmed. So we're kind of now in a situation where I don't really know what to do. Because we definitely got a crack in the cylinder head. Do I put a new cylinder head on it and risk the rings and the bores? Do I have the whole engine machined, all 6 cylinders rebored with oversized pistons? I mean, that's going to be thousands. Or do I get a second-hand engine, maybe one out of a Senator or something, like I did on my previous Royale 30 years ago, and risk it? Or do I throw a bottle of K-Seal in it and drive it till it dies? Okay, let's consider what we know. There is a crack in the head. The leak is very slight, but it is there. The rings and bores have seen better days. The glove didn't inflate very much. A bit, but not a lot. I wonder if someone's already thrown a bottle of K-Seal in it. I genuinely don't know what to do now. Sensible me says whip the cylinder head off and take a personal look. Genuinely don't know. As I said earlier, this is the first time I've felt that Roy might not get rescued. Let me know in the comments. What would you do? I think it comes down to 4 options. Engine rebuild. Top and bottom ends. Put a rebuilt cylinder head on it. Hope for the best. Change the engine completely. Hope for the best. But the new engine is okay. Chuck a bottle of K-Seal in it and run it till it dies. They're the only options I can think of. And they range from a level of effectiveness that costs very little money, might not work, probably won't work, to costs a middling amount of money and has a reasonable prospect of working, to costs an eye-watering amount of money and will work. Let me know what you'd do. Like, subscribe, share. We might rescue Roy yet, I don't know. Today, genuinely not sure. Thanks for watching.